Howdy goons, today I have a video on how to quote-unquote mod your retro handheld to help prevent false diagonals. False diagonals are when you press a direction on your handheld and it accidentally makes you go diagonal instead of one of the four main way directions that you pressed, up, down, left, or right. This can be caused by a few factors. Either the D-pad is designed in a weird way that makes it rock different than it typically would, the contacts on the board are too close to each other, or the rubber membrane isn't sized correctly to fit the contact's positioning. The fix I have for you though will fix any rubber membrane style D-pad. The device I'll be using today is the Retro Pocket Pixel 2, a Game Boy Light styled retro handheld. I got it for Pico 8 since it's a cheap vertical handheld with Wi-Fi, and for Game Boy, Game Boy Color, and internal resolution SNES. It's a pretty cheap option at just $50, but it has the worst D-pad I've ever used, and yeah, it's pretty hard to play with. This has ended with me putting it in my junk drawer until I have time to fix it. It's not a big deal for me since I have a lot of these handhelds, and a good amount of them have similarly sized screens or bigger. I just wanted this as a more portable option, but I think the issue with this one is the D-pad is a little weird and the contacts might be too close together. Either way, the fix is the same. For this, you'll need a few things. You'll need electrical tape, scissors, and a screwdriver that fits the handheld that you're using. For me, it's a Y-tip. I have a small flathead that works just fine though. Be careful with using the wrong screwdriver though, because if you use the wrong screwdriver, you can strip the screw and that becomes a problem. It's not a problem for me, it was just fine. But keep in mind that once you're in the system, the screws inside may be different than the ones on the outside. Also, most standard screwdriver kits won't have a Y-tip or a tri-wing screwdriver. If you need one, look for one of those tech repair screwdriver sets. As for tape, it does need to be electrical tape. Since it's rubbery, it can reduce the amount of contact with the contacts. The first step is of course to open up your device. When you do, make sure you put the screws in a little cup so that you don't lose them. Once you're in, remove the battery cable, but pay attention to its orientation. Usually these can be plugged in only one way, but it will save you some trouble to know what it is in advance. For me, it's red wire at the top. From this point on, the differences in our devices are going to vary. You need to remove screws holding the board in place. In my case, it's just two, one in the middle and one at the bottom. Keep in mind where these screws go and keep them in a separate cup. They're going to be a different length most likely, and it's possible to put them in the wrong spot. Take a pic with your phone if you're the forgetful type. Once removed, you should be able to easily remove the board. Don't yank it though. The screen's ribbon cable is going to be connected somewhere to the front, so carefully pull it apart and then flip it over. You can remove the ribbon cable if it's in your way. There's a little latch where the cable plugs into the board. Lift it and then remove the cable. You might need to use tweezers to lift the little latch. If you don't lift the little latch before you pull the cable out, if it has a latch, you may end up ripping the cable or damaging the contacts on the inside. Now that the board is free and flipped over, you can see your contacts. The one on the left will be your D-pad. It looks like the contacts on mine are just a little bit too close to each other and the rubber membrane heads were made smaller to alleviate the false diagonal issue. Unfortunately, that didn't work. So now we take the electrical tape and cut it into thin, small strips. The size that works for you may take some trial and error. You'll want to take the tape and lay it down where the diagonals would be on the board. Just make an X shape. Make sure that you don't do what I'm doing here. Do not lay them across over each other. Do it like my picture on screen instead. If you overlap them, you'll end up with a hard to press D-pad or a completely unresponsive D-pad. So the thickness of your strips is going to influence how hard the diagonals are to hit, and what works for you is going to depend on your preference and the device itself. If the contacts are far apart and you have false diagonals, then you might need thicker strips than I did. Once you're done with all the strips, plug back in the screen's ribbon cable. Lay the board in place, and you might need to lift the shell a bit to get it to rest. The buttons will push back and lift the board if you let it rest on an object, so you need to pick it up. Put the screws holding the board back into place and screw them in. In my case, these screws, every single one of them were very tightly put in and it was very annoying to get them out. Then put back any switches you removed or fell out. In my case, that's usually just the power button at the top. Then plug back in the battery. Mine was red on top, then the shell, and screw it into place, or just hold it together by hand if you think you're going to have to make adjustments to the tape. You probably won't get it perfect first try, so just hold it together while you test it. Once together, you can turn it on and test it out. For this, you can use a Pokemon game. Pokemon has you walking in 4 directions. If a false diagonal happens, you'll get the trainer to walk in a different direction. So if you hold left and you rock it up and down, your character will move up and down. Just try to pay attention to how hard or how easy it is to do. Ideally, you want it to be something that you can't do by accident, you want it to be intentional. Before this, mine was horrible, so anything's an improvement. But there are some games that you still want a little looseness on the D-pad, like fighting games. I don't personally play a lot of fighters, not these older ones, so test that out. For intentional diagonals, I tried Super Mario RPG. I got the main 4 when I wanted them, and then to hit the diagonals, I had to do so pretty intentionally. And then last of all, I tried the Contra test made by Retro Game Course. You hold down and rock the D-pad left and right. Ideally, you should have to press pretty hard to get your character to move instead of laying down. Mine, I have to be pretty deliberate with it. This isn't perfect, but it is good enough. It's a huge improvement over before. If everything works the way you want it, then you can put in the remaining screws and go play. If not, you'll need to open it up and adjust the positioning of the tape or use a bigger size. Once you're done with your device, if you want to upgrade it, you should check out my reviews or Retro Game Course, as we'll mention if there are D-pad issues like this so that you can avoid having that happen again in the future. For the most part, a lot of these companies actually don't have that many bad D-pads. It's actually kind of a rare problem nowadays. Now with it sealed up, I'm going to give it to someone in the house. Since getting the Ioneo Pocket Air Mini, I haven't had much of a need for it. The screen is bigger and the D-pad is silent, and it just works great, other than it's just started developing spontaneous cracks for no reason. Have no idea why that's happening. The Pocket Air Mini is not pocketable, despite having pocket in the name, but I've been having to carry a bag everywhere anyway. So thanks for watching, and thanks to the members here on YouTube. I couldn't do these videos without the support of Dragon Fanatic, Linky, AstroPixie YT, and Willie Pete. I'll see you all later. I have to go back to not playing this thing. Even though it's better now, I think the software experience is still pretty terrible, and I've just got so much better now. I'll see y'all later. Bye!